Today in Dressage 101, I'm going to walk you through a Grand Prix test, what the movements are, what to look for in a Grand Prix test, and how it happens. And watching, I think, one of the really cool stallions in dressage right now, which is Franciscus, and a goat in her own right, which is Ingrid Klimke. So like, fun fact, before every Grand Prix test, you like kind of warm up beforehand, and then they ring a bell, and then you get 30 seconds to get in the ring. So you like ring the bell, and you have 30 seconds to get in, and if not, then you receive penalties, which are never fun. And then for almost every dressage test, you halt at X and you salute. You salute with one hand, you know, kind of do a duck with your head also, kind of depends. Here, this halt is really square, which is nice. She salutes, and that says, okay, now I'm starting my dressage test. And then for the Grand Prix, the first movement is a track left and then an extended trot. So kind of like that first center line, you're just trotting along, coming on the center line, turning left, and then come into an extension here. Usually judges always look for like tracking up with the hind legs, how the frame is, how the actual trot pace is extending, all of that kind of stuff. And then for the Grand Prix, something that makes it really unique is there's two really steep half passes in it. There's a steep half pass to the right, and then immediately a steep half pass to the left. So this kind of whole half pass right here, you're thinking about like the balance, rocking them back to get, because of how steep it is. So it's like you're moving like a 1,400-pound animal to the right and then to the left. So here's a little left half pass. Ingrid always does such an amazing job of like, her horses have such a beautiful frame. Of course, she's also like a multiple gold medalist, so that of course she does an amazing job. And now here for the Grand Prix, you do a halt at C, and then you rein back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you try to immediately trot off after, which is kind of tricky because you come back, rein back, then you try to trot off without having like any missteps in between. So now you do an extended trot, and then you come straight into a passage. So it's like kind of like a slow trot, but where they're extra expressive. So she goes like all the way, extends the pace, and now she comes back to a passage. And then from here, she comes into a piaffe, and for the piaffe, it has to be ideally on the spot and 12 to 15 steps here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I was like right on the 12 marker. And if you do 15, I don't think that you get like any extra points, but it can just be, that's like kind of the range where you want the piaffe to be to get the maximum amount of points. And then the crazy part, I'm just gonna go back for a second. The crazy part in the Grand Prix test is that after you do these like really, high energy expressive movements, you have to immediately go to walk, give your reins, and especially if you're in like a really big stadium, and then show like total relaxation. So that's what's kind of cool about dressage. So you have to do like these unbelievably expressive movements, and then at the same time you have to have the ultimate form of relaxation, and say right after, just give the reins, let the horse walk, and kind of like, we always say like act like you're on a trail ride or something. And so those two kind of things together really shows just how relaxed the horse is while doing these tests, which is pretty cool. So here she goes from the extended walk, which is kind of longer frame. She's letting the reins out. The reins are much longer. And then immediately after that, you go into a collected walk, which is picking up the reins, kind of like more of a show frame. And also the stride of the walk shortens. So instead of having, this much overstride from hind legs to the footprint of the front foot hoof, you want it almost the hind foot to fill the front foot, like print in the sand, if you will, if that makes any sense. And then from here, you have to go from extended walk to collected walk, and then you have to pick up a passage again. So you have to go in like this most relaxation walk, so you get extra points, and then immediately go into a super expressive trot movement, basically. So here she comes, boom, straight into the passage. And then now she kind of repeats the piaffe massage. So she passages, and then here comes back to those 12, 15 steps of piaffe. So you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Boom, she comes right out at 15. Just so impressive. And then this is also a really tricky transition in the Grand Prix, which is a passage to canter. So like you come from a really elevated, really high balanced trot, and then have to strike off into the canter without, swapping leads behind or swapping leads in front. So she does it really well here in this test. And then right after that, now you come into the two tempis. So everyone kind of has their own method of counting for the tempi changes, but the way I kind of think about it is I go, comes in, she gets ready, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And so we kind of ask for each change by like swinging our leg back and forth. But what's crazy is that you have to think about not only the amount of canter strides that are happening, which is sometimes it's hard to count, and then while you're doing that, you also think about the balance of the horse to make sure the changes happen. And then you also think about, you know, canter tempo, the frame, you know, the actual line itself. And so doing changes can be really difficult. It looks really easy, but it can be really hard. And so now you go into a nice extended canter. This is like, you know, pretty exciting stuff. You get to go like full on it. Franciscus has like an amazing canter, so it's pretty cool to see. And what's really cool is that the frame never changes. It's like always the same for this stallion, which is really cool. So now you come into like one of, everything's difficult, but like one of the more difficult movements in the Grand Prix test, which is the zigzag. And so it's 4, 6, and then 6, 6, and then 4 again. And I think everyone kind of counts this differently, but this is so difficult because you have to not only have really precise geometry where you want to kind of go from, you know, I think about like the pylons, you go from like pylon to pylon, but you have to think about your geography and the canter strides, and then also swinging your leg back and forth. And the zigzag is a half pass. So it's like half pass left in the canter, change, half pass right in the canter, change, half pass left, change, half pass right, change, half pass left, change, and then change and track right. So it's a lot going on all at once. So I'm gonna go back and watch it again, because here she goes. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, and change. And she waits a little bit there just to change, but it's so good regardless. But that little zigzag is just because I think the geometry and having to count and it's a half pass and the quality and the frame and everything, so you have to think about so much at once. And then right after the zigzag, now you come into your 1-tempies, which are a really fun movement. It's kind of like skipping for the horse almost, and so you change every canter stride. And you have to do 15 of them. You have to make sure they're straight. 8, 9, 10, 11. So why? I can't even count today. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There we go. And so kind of another interesting thing about what makes the 1-tempi so hard is, so like a normal, you know, canter change, you're like swing your leg and then you wait for the change. And it's the same for like the 2-tempies, 3-tempies, 4-tempies, which are all, you know, the canter stride that you would ask them for. But for the 1-tempies, it's kind of interesting because you have to keep swinging your legs as the horse is doing the changes. So you like initially ask for one, and then as that change is happening, you have to ask for the next. And so it's like one of the only dressage moves where like you have to keep asking the horse to do the things. And they have to just kind of keep going along with you, if that makes any sense. So that's what makes it also extra difficult. And then as you're swinging your legs, if you don't keep swinging your legs in the same methodical, you know, tempo, the horse is like, well, do I, you know, do a different layer of changes? So you have to count in your head, and you also have to count the horse's strides beneath you, not your legs, which is also really hard. So there's the 1-tempies are a difficult thing as well. And so now we're coming into the canter pirouettes, which is kind of the last canter movement of the Grand Prix test, and there's another extended trot and the piaffe passage. So here for the canter pirouettes, it's between 6 to 8 strides for every canter pirouette. So here she's coming in, she's collecting, you want like equal amounts of bend, and then here it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then she goes straight, and then she changes on the center line. And then comes here, and now she's gonna do another 6 to 8 steps. So here she comes around, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, and it doesn't matter if like one is 6 and one is 7, or one is 8 and one is 7, as long as they're within 6 to 8 strides. So now she has a transition to trot, and then she goes up to one letter, and then does an extended trot. And the interesting thing about the Grand Prix test is that they're actually the same for everybody. So throughout, I don't even know how old the current version of the Grand Prix test is, but they've been around for a long time. So at home we get to practice, and we have like a big paper sheet we look at. So now this is like the highlight of the Grand Prix. It comes to the very center line, and she does you do a passage to a piaffe to a passage. And I think, I could be wrong on this one, but there's like 35 points or 30 points to be collected. So it's really important to get the last center line good. So here she comes into those 12, 15 steps. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You see that he has just such a nice, pretty outline, and she does such an amazing job. And here she comes on her last passage. She's really trying to think about the rhythm of it. But what's kind of interesting, maybe I'll go back here, is that you can kind of really see the distinct difference from the passage to the piaffe. And like, the piaffe is not just like a trotting in place, so that's like the simplest way of explaining it, but it's really like such a heightened movement of collection where you can see the horse's butt and shape change so much. So it goes from this passage here, and then you can see just how much more the hind legs are underneath them and how they like come up to the piaffe, which is kind of really cool to see it from this side angle, and he's a stallion that does it so well. And then you can see as she transitions back out into the passage, you can really see how it's kind of two separate trots kind of, but it's really, really cool to see. And then here comes in for her halt. And you always try to make sure that the horse, if you can, try to make sure its legs are square if you want extra points. So you try to make sure the front legs are in the same, same alignment, and the hind legs are in the same alignment. And then you do one last salute. Usually this is the time you pet your horse because it was an amazing test, as it always goes, hopefully. And then at the end, the judges go through, and you kind of, as you're heading out, the judges like score and say, okay, well, we have like rider position, harmony. And so as you're walking out, you're kind of thinking through your test, what went right, what went wrong. And then usually, hopefully by the time you get out of the ring, you get to see your score, and hopefully it does well. That concludes Dressage 101 of me taking you through a Grand Prix test. I hope you found it interesting or learned something new you didn't know about dressage. I find the sport amazing, so it's really fun to talk about. And if you have any other questions or you want us to go over another video, please let us know in the comments below. Sweet. This is a perfect test to pick.
Yeah.
I'm super happy with it.
Yeah.
She did so good here. I wonder what her score was. 76.
Awesome.
Pretty good dressage.